mention.
Okay, but also this just in, when I've checked, that's actually Killiest in the sub slots, subbing for Twisty in the brawler position, picking up the Dracar with Missile Prop, which could be a little scary for the Dragonslayers too, especially after the All-Pro, you know, Twisty at #1. Where's our #1 brawler here? But hey, I believe in Killiest. That guy's been performing pretty well in the in-houses, and of course, coming to me for some brawler questions, so hey, that means he's got to be good at the game.
Gotta be good for sure, and we're seeing the pressure already coming out from them, right? And they're trying to get themselves a second barrier take here, but can't actually defend it well from Polar Coretex there. To even take the barrier off of Luke there, surprisingly enough. You do have the Centauro named Chaotic being down to stagger, and I feel like that's a question of time until either Striker Kai or Achilles will just find these hits, and Achilles here almost taking him out completely as well. But Core still being passed around, neither side really getting a lethal attack going. Talking about lethal, yeah, name Chaotic is off.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much damage on the side of Dragonslayers too. They've picked up the Estelle, Amy, Dracar, and it feels like you're missing your kill confirm, or a strong brawler to kind of secure these. But I mean, when you're Zentaro and your health is just so low and you're getting pelted by all these primaries and secondaries, it sure, honestly isn't that hard to just take out the Centauro, and Name Chaotic is spending so much time trying to stay alive, but it's actually Killius the one to be staggered with the flip. Striker also up the wall, but it is Killius to fall to the Tofu Fortress. And Chaotic making his way up the field, attempts to find the goal with his passive, but a very, very scary mix coming out from Name Chaotic and I, forcing Luke to spend the flip to get it out, and trying to keep it up the field, and this defense from the side of Polar Coretex is able to keep the core up, but there's the damage coming out. Killius just hitting the shotgun and getting the kill secure and the point secure for the first point going towards Dragonslayers too.
Yeah, the point dragged itself out quite a bit because both teams, they found KOs, but they couldn't find a way to position themselves to really translate into a solid scoring position. And in the end there, Achilles with a clean strike gets a past full, but that is 1 point of 3 that you need to win the set. And as it stands right now, you do have an advantage on the side of Polar Coretex if you disregard the fact that Name Chaotic is staggered and no evades, so they are in solid core control, but the KO is going to be found for the side of Dragonslayers too, as they're now trying to translate this power play into potentially 2, if at least 1 barrier. But a really good midfield control coming out from A there to actually make sure that that does not happen, and just gives Name Chaotic enough time to respawn and be back into play.
Yeah, there's a beautiful reverse power play there by A. Just kind of just playing time, playing all this open space, and is able to stay alive, keeping the core up for Name Chaotic to come back online. But now the damage is actually torn towards A. Is still able to get the first barrier, but Achilles is running down the field looking for the shotgun to secure A, and the Fool is opts to pop the flip, just get it to the other side of the field. But a huge kill coming out from Achilles, getting to ult shotgun and just kill Name Chaotic, and actually gets so much damage on A that, yeah, that's another kill coming out. It's now up to just Dubu to survive the 1v3 power play. And the Fool is able to just kind of keep striking it out, but an unfortunate mix coming out from Striker Kai. The pops the flip, unfortunately misses, and the core actually comes backwards off the Rose Warp, just hitting a beautiful angle going into the own side of Dragonslayers 2, and that is a point towards Polar Coretex.
Yeah, the accuracy needed there was really, really good. Unfortunately, it went the wrong side, but in the end, I still feel like Dragonslayers 2 are in a great position overall, right? They are doing a lot of damage, having a very valid KO threat throughout the entirety of the game so far, just making it very difficult for Polar Coretex to really do anything without just trading at least a little bit of HP for it. They do have 1 barrier down again, but ultimately 1 barrier is all you need to hold on to the point, as now Name Chaotic on the Zentaro picks trying to do a bit of damage here. But again, no one really getting that close to being taken out completely from the side of Dragonslayers 2, as again, Name Chaotic, Zentaro, that squishy brawler, just having a bit of a tough time staying alive. But a nice dash there will actually find the KO. Power play now for Polar Coretex, and they get the second barrier as well. Looking to go more offensive here as well, as Fool's walking up on the Dubu. They do have a flip on Name Chaotic, needs to use it to stay alive. But the attack still is there. The Dubu just walks right in, cannot get it past though. Great defense coming out from Luke there. As again, the Dubu with the Tofu Fortress coming out. Not finding the particle accelerator properly there though. As we are back to a roughly neutral state. Name Chaotic gets the orb to stay alive, but Core has calmed down quite a bit now.
We are returning to kind of an even game here, but honestly, it felt like the ball was on the side of Dragonslayers 2 for so long. Polar Coretex just doing such a great job of just kind of keeping it up. Unfortunately, it is now up the Dragonslayers starting their own offense. I pops the flip, but now it is Kilius to use his and is able to actually bait out the somersault from the Dubu. And now is looking scary for the side of Polar Coretex. Kilius and Striker Kai, two characters. I mean, Strike Shotgun and Strike Crystal Thorns from Estelle. Super scary name card. Looking for a mix on the Zentaro. Which actually, unfortunately, falls to the kill confirm from Estelle. The 2v3 power play. Will Dragonslayers 2 be able to find the secure in this point? And a Strike Shot coming from Kilius. A cut pass from I and is looking to actually secure this point with the primary. A flip coming out from Striker Kai. But ultimately, nothing is able to be found, and the ball just kind of keeps going around both sides. Neither team can really find a secure point. But a great primary from Name Chaotic actually managed to dribble it past Striker Kai. He had a beautiful shot into the top side of the net.
Yeah, and you can notice it already, like these points, they're dragging themselves quite long, you know? We're playing back and forth quite a bit, and it just makes it so much more intense to actually get the point in the end. It's so much more valuable, right? Because this puts Polar Coretex now one goal away from a first set win, and more importantly for first choices on draft, right? Because if you're looking at the game overall, we're seeing a lot of KOs by just playing this game out, which gives so much more value at getting early awakening priorities and awakening drafts going through, because you can just snowball it so much harder. And Polar Coretex very much looking to actually get that snowball going in terms of sets, because they again took both barriers off of Luke, but the attack from Dragonslayers 2 has not calmed down now, actually, as they do get one in return. Name Chaotic a bit low there, needs to be careful to not be taken out, because again, that Estelle and that Ricard together, they can do quite a bit of damage and have pretty good kill confirms as well, especially if you see how they've been executing it so far. I completely jinxed it, but Name Chaotic still on the map and almost taken out, but no, still not enough. Dragonslayers 2 really trying to fish for that Centauro KO here.
Yeah, all these abilities being spent. Unfortunately, Name Chaotic is alive and is even unstaggered. It is now A, who takes a great shot at the top of the net, able to find the window through Striker Kai, through the Amy turret, and through Imi. And that's the first set going up to Polar Coretex, which I will say is very valuable. When you're Polar Coretex and you're playing against such a heavy damage column, you want to be able to get these awakenings to keep you alive. Like the stagger awakenings, core speed, just kind of keep the core out of the hands of Dragonslayers. And of course, if you need to, deny some damage themselves. But Dubu on the first pick, I don't think it's particularly strong. And unfortunately, Super Surge is taken by the Amy, but a big pickup from Name Chaotic. Adrenaline Rush easy. They've been finding a couple kills. So if Name Chaotic can start getting a couple of these kills that they're able to find and just snowball these points, and of course, 1 second off on Adrenaline Rush is also broken. But hey, that's a new win condition for the side of Polar Coretex.
Yeah, most definitely, especially if they can keep momentums in sets and get even more KO awakenings, because again, they do have the potential to go for KO. They're just a little bit, they just need a little bit more help compared to the side of Dragonslayers 2, as both sides now have someone that's really low on the HP bars there. And the downside is a little bit for the Adrenaline Rush, the fact that Name Chaotic is usually the target of the damage coming out from Dragonslayers 2, so quite often they're not really finding themselves in a position where they can actually chase a KO, because if they do, there's a risk they're just going to get taken out themselves, right? And obviously, then again, it's Night Market. Striker Kai there had really good positioning to make sure that he cannot be taken out for free and stays alive until the HP is coming back. The attack from Dragonslayers 2 now still very much alive, but not finding that second barrier, as now Name Chaotic and A are trying to get the counter push going, but no, it falls back to full. Barrier does drop. Open goal now on the side of Polar Coretex, as the attack is now starting to be built again, but strikes are just being found back and forth. It's not really in a position where either side can confirm a goal. It's just kind of turning into a who just has better hands at the moment type of situation.
I mean, when you're playing, a lot of these characters can kind of just take well, not the most consistent shots on the net, but very scary ones. I mean, Dracar, Estelle, of course, with their shotgun-esque abilities. Centauro and Juno can just throw out so many hitboxes at you that eventually you might just slip up. But both the Fool and Luke doing such a great job on just not slipping up. Beautiful strikes coming out from Luke there, and the core speed just kind of keeping them on the map. But a great kill from Kilius, able to secure with the empowered shotgun. There's now the power play for the side of Dragonslayers too, but the hot shot Estelle is just hitting the core too hard, too fast for the Dubu to keep up with his strikes.
Yeah, really difficult. Hot shot is such a valuable awakening as well for this, so making that piercing shot just so fast, especially if you're going down to overtime, that core is going to be flying across the field. And then as a Dubu, you are going to be a bit limited on dealing with that, as, again, HP bars just dropping. Name Chaotic almost dead again. Had to use the flip there to stay alive. Has 1 evade to their name here, and are not using it yet, but they're being tossed around. Gets taken out now, finally, from the missile propulsion on that Estelle jump, as now a power play for Dragonslayers 2 is still alive. Flip comes out from Fool, takes his own barrier, but still gets a clear decently away. Flip coming out from Kilius now, well defended though, because Dubu does have the log to be working with there. Amy Turret gonna help with a bit of pressure being put up there, as Kilius is actually taking a lot of damage here, and maybe needs to be a bit concerned not to be damage bumped any further by the Zentaro here, because if Zentaro can find this KO, you mentioned it before, this Adrenaline Rush could be incredibly effective.
For sure, and this now Kilius is looking like he's in range to just go down here, but unfortunately no Zentaro ult to finish off the kill. I mean, the Adrenaline Rush stays unproc, and Kilius is actually starting to approach unstaggered, and he is now, but the hot shot from Estelle is able to secure the point off the flip, or not the point, the barrier off the flip, and is now Core's moving up the field for the side of Dragonslayers 2, and this overtime is making the core go so fast that, hey, it could be anyone's game. We're just kind of taking these random shots on the goal, and then Kilius is trying to move up the field with the shotgun, but is denied by the Topu Fortress, and is just going around, but a beautiful cut from Striker Kai. They're able to get it around the flip from Name Chaotic, and Luke attempting to put it in with this secondary to primary. And again, this hot shot is just doing so much work, and just these Estelle primaries are so scary, especially when she gets not even, they're hitting harder, but she's getting them more often with just 1 awakening.
Yeah, and I mean, the difficulty of that as well is with base Estelle, the piercing shot, sometimes you can let yourself get hit by it and still get a strike afterwards to react with it, because the core doesn't go away fast enough. With hotshot, that's just not possible. If you are getting hit with the piercing shot and the core, that core is going to fly past you. That makes it so difficult and punishing to defend, as the Dragonslayers 2 had a power play, couldn't find themselves the second barrier. Do find it now, actually. The shotgun was enough from Kilius there. Core now falling back to their own defense, but the Aim Turret is sure to help with getting that core out, as Name Chaotic's trying to get the strike orb, and Luke has a flip up front as well, will use it, but Fool reacts accordingly. Goal still not happened yet, as Luke is now actually the one that's slow and needs to be a bit careful. So the Dragonslayers 2 need to adjust their positioning a little bit to allow Luke a little bit of safety here, as he again jumps up but has to go back with the eject button to make sure he doesn't get taken out. The KO gets found though by Name Chaotic, and this Adrenaline Rush is going to come into play now. Power play for the side of Polar Coretex, as the stagger is found on Name Chaotic. 1 barrier down, can I find a second one? It doesn't really look like it, because the positioning from Dragonslayers 2 is just so solid and so difficult to be dealing with, as almost the flip goes in, but again, great strikes coming through there, and a KO found now on A there. Power play for Dragonslayers 2, and they're definitely looking to set themselves up here with that Estelle, with that Rakar, to just confirm this goal, and they do so with Striker Kai finding all 3 goals to set for Dragonslayers 2.
We already talked about it. We saw the hot shot just printing so much value for that entire set. And of course, Striker Kai, look at that guy. He's level 10. That's 3 levels above the opposing team's A's Juno, who's at level 7. And just, it picks up a team player. I mean, this core is going to be going so fast for Dragonslayers. I don't know if Juno's going to be able to keep up.
I don't think she can, and I feel like she got very unlucky as well, because in both these first drafts we had Hotshot and 1-2 Punch, 2 really valuable awakenings for Juno, but both times A was down to last pick, which meant he's not getting either of them. And he's not going to get them throughout the game anyway. So you're missing out on 2 of these really strong awakenings for Juno in a match where it's already difficult to really play that against the speed and the control that the enemy side has. So not really great for the side of Polar Coretex there. But across the field, though, I feel like still pretty decent awakenings being picked up. It's just that the side of Dragonslayers 2, together with that heavy impact Rakar and 1-2 Amy, they just found so many more ways to just find KOs now.
Yeah, for sure. And when you're on, I mean, there's more hotshot value again, but when you are on the side of Dragonslayers 2, you're completely okay with these points just kind of going long, because the more time that passes, the more damage you could be racking up on the side of Polar Coretex. And if the Polar Coretex are not able to kind of fight back with their own damage, or just kind of accelerate these points faster, things are going to be looking super hard for them to win. But as we saw there, they have the ability to find these kills. Kilius almost just got 1 shot immediately off pickoff here. So if they can kind of keep this up with and get their damage on, peel for themselves, and just keep Dragonslayers from just wailing on them, I think Polar Coretex might be able to come back in this game.
Yeah, they very much can, but it's a matter of finding that. And then also when you do get them low, you need to find the KOs as well, which is a bit of the difficult part, because I feel like a lot of the damage that they're finding on the players from Dragonslayers 2 is coming from the people that want to confirm those Ks. You know, it's named Chaotic using Zentaro abilities that you preferably want to use to actually secure the KO in the end. So if a lot of damage is coming up from Zen, you don't... What's your kill confirm at that point? You have the Juno and you have the Dubo, which can do quite a bit of work, again, obviously, but it's just going to make it more difficult. But this time around, they did actually execute it on it well. They get a power play for themselves, and they get a goal for it, rewarded with it. That's exactly what they want to be playing for, because if you do find that KO, and you execute well on it, you've got to take advantage of these power plays, because the defensive aside from Dragonslayers 2, even though they're great players, they're not incredible at just dealing with the 3-man assault.
Yeah, I mean, there are not really any damage awakenings on the side of Polar Coretex here, but we saw as long as they're able to keep the ball trapped in the kind of like the corner against the Dragonslayers 2, Juno and Zentaro are just able to kind of throw like a lot of hitboxes, and like for Zentaro some very big ones. They just kind of force the side of Dragonslayers to just take damage. But a beautiful mix coming from Chaotic there, kind of storing the speed from the core with its primary. Is able to secure both barriers for Polar Coretex, but Fool's having such a hard time holding this defense here. Amy turret and then the flip coming out, looking super scary, but it's actually named Chaotic who I'd be looking at this point. Has the flip, but unfortunately is staggered, and the Drakkar from Kilius is just hovering around the midfield, stopping Named Chaotic from actually getting involved in the play at all, but a great secondary to dodge the kill. And is able to pick up an orb, but unfortunately a mix from Luke is able to secure that point, but if I'm Polar Coretex, I'm just happy that Named Chaotic survived that point and is keeping the flip up for the next one.
Yeah, it can be very valuable here, but you do need to consider you are now 1 goal away from losing the set, and you do not want to be in such a situation if you can avoid it. But as of right now, both barriers still alive. Named Chaotic has a flip, like you mentioned. We'll see if they're going to be able to get the value out of it as well, because Luke also has one on the defense. Worst case scenario, you're trading flips there, which if you're Dragonslayers 2, you're kind of fine with, right? Because you're already up a point. But right now, it's looking actually pretty good for Polar Coretex, simply just because Kilius is getting low, and Zentaro doesn't need to use the flip for specifically a barrier. He can also just use it for a KO confirm. But talking about KO confirms, a beautiful Cyber Swipe actually from Luke coming out and taking out Named Chaotic there. Gives Dragonslayers 2 now a power play to be playing off of. A really good defense, though, from A will make it difficult for them to progress into the enemy half, and Named Chaotic is back on the field. The barrier does drop in the end. Fool not able to actually hold on to that point there, or that barrier long enough, as A is now the one that is getting low and is at danger of being taken out. Flip coming out there from Striker Kai to try to find the KO, but it cannot find it on A. Flip has to come out from Fool now to try to get this defense going, and it's just not finding its way into the goal. The Polar Coretex are doing such a good job holding on defensively here.
A lot of abilities are being spent both sides, but not any real progress being made, other than, of course, the damage on I. But I's been staggered for like a minute. Oh, it's stagger bug, but he's been low for about a minute now. And now I've heard the actual stagger sound effect, and the Drakkar is looking for the kill, unable to find it with the shotgun. But Juno can actually be a surprisingly hard character to kill, but I have jinxed it. And Drakkar is attempting to keep the core up, just stop the core from getting to Kilius, because, I mean, Drakkar flipping the net, 1 shotgun to the face, and that's just going in. But a great Tofu Fortress from the Fool, able to deny possession. And I is looking to just kind of keep it up, and a great ultimate from Named Chaotic, just kind of keeping the ball up, and is able to find the barrier. But it is Kilius who also finds a kill on I. It's just shotgun flip. Just does so much knockback. Actually, we went powered by a secondary, but a great evade coming out from the Fool. Able to get past the primary, but is unable to get past Estelle's ultimate. And that is the 3rd set going to the Dragonslayers. What you'd want to see if you're on them, and this Amy can be getting even more damage. Already Super Surge, already 1-2 punch, but we could see either more dash range coming out or even a Deadeye pickup on the Amy, and she's going to be hitting like 65% harder. I mean, don't look. Scary game.
Yeah, that one's going to hurt, because it's not only the Deadeye as well, it's a prize fighter finding its way onto Kilius, so the Drakkar is going to scale. You do get the explosive entrance on Named Chaotic, which is going to help a lot, again with damage output and just mobility as well, Zentaro being such a fan of those dash awakenings. And the Siege Machine coming down from A, making these globals hurt actually quite a bit now. Together with Siege Machine and Monumentalist, this could be a little bit annoying to deal with, but I still feel like, looking at the grand scheme of things here, Dragonslayers 2 just got so much again just to find KOs. You can see see that immediately. A just taken out. That's the first prize fighter stack for Kilius, putting him at a total of 2 so far. We'll see how long it'll take until they find themselves at 4 already, because I feel like it might not take that long with all this damage in this game.
I mean, if Polar Coretex is able to kind of keep, like I said, keep the ball up, force the enemy to walk into these Juno slimes, are dealing 40% more damage now, they can come back on the damage game, but there's just... This Dracar is hitting so hard right now. Missile prop, heavy impact, 2 prize fighter stacks. And even though it doesn't have any damage or anything, she's just kind of providing enough support there to get, like, Kilius just kind of secure the kill with only, like, a single shotgun shot. And, of course, Luke in the back also has so much damage that if you have to take these abilities, you're eating these Amy secondaries, it's just not a good look for Polar Coretex. And a great kind of quangle there coming out from Striker Kai. Secondary into flip, able to just kind of take Named Chaotic off the map, and it is now looking like a great point for the Dragonslayers, keeping the ball up. Luke behind should get some 1-2 punch value to the core, up the field faster to Kilius, looking for the kill, but it is Named Chaotic is actually kind of trying to save this point, keep the ball up, and the Dragonslayers are just looking too good right now.
Yeah, they just have every luxury they could be asking for, because they have so much. They just have so much damage, and again, it's damage that happens as well while you're contesting core. It's not like a situation where you're giving up a lot of damage to find KOs and you're giving up core control for that. You're just doing both at the same time, because Dracar and Estelle, they can play on both the enemy team and on core at the same time. And Kilius there sneaks up and actually finds a goal and puts Dragonslayers 2 in a point advantage. Has a flip available as well, and again, A's HP bar is just disappearing. Striker Kai there doing so much damage on that Estelle as the flip comes out from Kilius. Second barrier still staying alive though. Kilius doesn't have an evade, but as of right now, Polar Coretex needs to take advantage of this positioning, because they do have a lot of pressure on the side of Dragonslayers 2's core, but no. The core does sneak past into open goal now on the side of Polar Coretex. They're still holding on to the point for now, but it's a question of time, I feel like, until eventually, again, this damage and this force that the side of Dragonslayers 2 can create is going to find its way into the net. But no, the barrier does go down. A has a flip soon as well. Maybe can try to get the farm that up as soon as possible and play with it. The first flip comes out from Chaotic, and a nice dash, actually, will confirm this point for Polar Coretex.
A beautiful, beautiful Zentaro outplay. I'll flip it to secondary there. Absolutely zero counterplay for Luke. Just too powerful a little combo there. And if I'm Polar Coretex here, I need to start thinking, how can we make that happen again? And we should need to be able to get the ball into these spots where Named Chaotic can just kind of spend his abilities and just kind of stuff it in without really much that Amy can do about it. No real defensive abilities, but it's just so hard when these abilities are being spent for the damage. And a beautiful 2 barriers taken from Luke there. Able to eject across the field and get it up. But this 1-2 punch is making the core so red. Is trying to get it up the field. And oh my god, the aerial dash range Estelle is just able to teleport across the field and kind of snipe the up clear from the Fool. That was kind of disturbing.
Yeah, that one's a bit difficult to be expecting to be dealing with on the defensive end. So a bit unfortunate for Fool there, as we do get a little bit of losing the sound a little bit, but the KO gets found actually on Striker Kai there. Striker Kai there. So there is a power play now in favor of Polar Coretex. They do need to find the second barrier. Maybe force the flip out of Luke. They do so as the flip does find a barrier. And A, again, pretty low, just the target of so many damaging abilities continuously, making it so difficult to play in this midfield position here, as the attack is not dropped in any way, shape, or form from the side of Dragonslayers 2. The barrier does stay alive almost if on the angle there to take it, but both teams still holding on to the point, holding on to their barriers for as long as they can. A flip on Kilius might be enough as well to find a KO on A there, as the shotgun finds its way on top of him. The strike will be good enough to take the barrier, actually, and now you want to pivot into using this flip to maybe secure the point and secure the game with that, as the flip has to come out from Named Chaotic to stay alive. Dragonslayers 2 still trying to position themselves in a way to guarantee themselves this point here, and they do get the opportunity. Fool needs to clear out, gets molten bolted as well, but gets the angle around Kilius there. But a beautiful flip just snipes that top corner there. Really well played.
A great shot and a great little interaction there with Kilius, just able to get out so many of these Dubu abilities and eventually just kind of secure it in the top side. But a great game played from Dragonslayers here. You know, I was going into this day, I was thinking, all right, which team in NASA is gonna just hit people, because I still believe that the best way to play the game right now is damage, and I'm really happy to see that Dragonslayers 2 have kind of picked up on that memo, and just look at all the damage on the side of them: 35, 39,000, and 43,000. A very high number coming up from Shark Eye. The person who actually had the least damage awakenings in this game was able to pump out more than anybody else. Just kind of whenever you Shark Eye just gets to play with the core and just primary with it, they're able to ramp up so much damage, and they kind of have to take it in order to play off this core. And Polar Coretex is going to need to look to kind of find some ways to get around this damage, or maybe even start picking it up for themselves.
Yeah, I mean it was an incredibly like polarizing starting awakening as well, right? With these extra specials and these missile propulsions, like you just have the potential to find these KOs, and Dragonslayers 2 have just been executing on it. And again, like I just want to point out the damage again. Like if the lowest member, the lowest damage in your team is someone with 35,000. It's a bit difficult to play into that. Like you just can't do anything about it unless you're just making them choose like in between taking control and taking KOs. But on a map like Night Market and the way that Dragonslayers 2 executed it, there's just no way to really force such a situation. So gonna be curious to see how Polar Coretex is going to adjust into this next game. And yeah, I mean, like you said, I feel like we are in a point in the meta where you kind of need to be able to contest that damage. So if we find ourselves into maybe like worst case scenario, a Deadeye or a heavy impact start, I don't think you have a choice but to play damage. It's going to be curious to see how they're going to play it out, as we are on Amy's app with Spark of Strength and Twin Drive. Any picks that jump out to you here?
Juliet Twin Drive broken. Juliet Amy's app also broken. You can do the math. You add that up, and that's a mega broken character right there. I mean, you're already trying to track her dash punch cooldown whenever you're crossing the midfield line against her, but now she's got two of them. Impossible. It is the most miserable thing to play against here. I think she's looking pick ban right now. But hey, a lot of teams have been kind of a lot more scared against Rasmus, just kind of not wanting to deal with the Rasmus opting to ban him out. But hey, Rasmus can't kill you with his Twin Drive, and I know at least one character who can.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like tracking cooldowns is just gonna be impossible with the Twin Drive, but I feel like there's a lot of like just general like edge threads and just damage threads that come into play here with the Twin Drive and Spark of Strength start. Because as well, if you're a character that maybe doesn't want Twin Drive, you still get a spark and you get the damage spark at that. Which means, again, like it's going to be a damage game. Although I don't think that's a huge surprise, given that we are on Amy's app, where all of that can happen. So it's going to be interesting to see. I feel like the first ban is going to be changing a lot about how this draft is going to be going, because you do have the Rasmuses, you have the Juliets, and you even have the Drakkar, right? That are just such threats on this map. So Polar Coretex here has the opportunity to just kind of dictate how it's going to go. I would be expecting them to take out either the Rasmus or the Julie, unless they are just willing to handshake it, which could be interesting to see if they're going for that approach or not. And the Luna is actually being taken out here. Obviously, again, a really good character when it does come to damage and to executing your enemy. But that leaves Julie open to be picked. So curious to see if Polar Coretex will be locking that in for themselves.
I'm praying. Yes, we have a Julie pickup. Thank God that we are not just letting her through. Because you know what I was scared of? I was scared of Polar just like not picking the Juliet, maybe opting for like Chaotix Kazan on Twin Drive, and then they get to play against Juliet Drakkar. And if you think about it, how do you ever cross the midfield line when one of them is just standing in the middle there? The answer is that you don't until they're out of both their secondaries. So I'm really glad that at the very least we're not going to see these two characters on the same team. And Dragonslayers, of course, immediately picking up the Drakkar, because, like I said, if you let that through, you're going to have an awful time just playing a character that can kind of just like skip the midfield line, just kind of blink over it. And also in Estelle, another character that can actually threaten these dash punch KOs. A good Quangle can possibly get a couple kills here, but this is actually the same exact 4 duo. I mean, of course, the Estelle could drop to Luke here, but that is the same little combo that we saw in the Night Market game. So if Killius and Striker Kai are able to pump out the same damage that they were doing last game, I mean, things could repeat themselves.
They very much could. So they've been good on it, right? And again, like Amy's app, if you find these edge KOs, it's going to be difficult. We do have a Rune pickup here. for A, which is obviously it's an interesting pickup. I feel like it's surprisingly effective on a map like Amy's app as well, just because again you have that top bottom split that you can just cover so well with pillars, and having a Vice in the back as well actually opens up a lot of opportunities to just again damage dump and use the banish as well for potentially just setting up KOs, because you have so many angles where you're just going to be tossing someone directly into the edge of the map. So we'll see how this draft is going to be played out for the side of Polar Coretex 2, as Dragonslayers 2 are just saying, you know what, we'll just run it back. We'll just play the exact same comp again. It worked last game. Why change anything up, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had a plan last game, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that plan had anything to do with Night Market. So, a great strategy from Dragonslayers here. Just want to hit them. Just want to make because when you're getting hit, you're stressed out, and sometimes when you're stressed, it's just hard for you to kind of figure out what you're supposed to be doing in that situation. But Polar Coretex, I think the rune is going to be looking really strong here. A character can play off the ball pretty well, so he's actually able to kind of get the core up without needing to contest the core as much as a character like Juno. And the Vice, Juliet, rune, on paper, honestly, doesn't sound like characters that would go very well together. But these characters, if Polar can just combo their abilities together, can find some insane kill angles, especially with the rune banish, to set up so easily for something like a Vice secondary or Julie dash punch, or even a Viceal if they really want that kill. If they can kind of not just like through like raw damage, but these combo KOs, I think Polar might be able to take over the Amy's app.
Yeah, they very much can. I feel like that is going to be a large point for them to be considering that rune banish, right? Getting that value out of it and playing off of it, because every other kind of battle around the edge of the map that especially Julie's going to be having is going to be quite a delicate scenario, right? Because if you're trying to dash punch Drakkar for, let's say, you're putting yourself directly next to the edge, which means if Drakkar can avoid it, can evade it, or just sidestep it as well, you're now putting yourself at danger. So having that rune to set you up and just give you the opportunity to find a free KO is going to be incredibly valuable for you.
For sure, but already off to a strong start. Both sides looking for some damage. Namecogs are already a little bit at half health. Luke looking to keep the core up with the glitch pop, and his Hiliest and Striker Kai looking to start this offense, kind of just throwing these abilities at the net. Not looking for anything super strong, trying to kind of mix up this Vice. Not a character with the craziest defensive options. Quite different than last game, where Dude was able to kind of eat these offensive interactions with secondary, with primary, kind of ignore whatever Striker Kai and Kills was throwing down. But now on the Vice, and this is just so much damage coming up. But a great clear from Luke is actually able to move it up the field. And a great little banish dodge coming out from Kilias. But despite all of that, is still staggered. And on Amy's app, against the Juliet, it can be very hard to be getting any pressure when you're staggered on this game.
Yeah, most definitely. The good thing is that Namecotics doesn't have the ultimate just yet, so he can't just simply walk up to you and just hit you with that. But before we even get the chance of seeing something like that, Fool just, with a beautiful play up there, forces it through, just passes it to his own secondary, and then just flips it right in. Really well executed there to give the side of Polar Coretex the first goal in this game, and they immediately want to continue on with this pressure, but a lot of damage finding its way onto Namechaotic again. Is Juliet just really trying to get the second level 2 as well, to just use it to kind of set herself up for dash punches and potentially just, oh no, what? Strike the core.
Okay, well, an unfortunate little misplay there. Unfortunately, I think the Fool wants to strike and then immediately TP to his teleport, but unfortunately, looks like we've kind of pressed our buttons in the wrong order there, and immediately is found with another lost point of the barrier going down, and immediately an unfortunate own goal from the Fool. I not able to strike in time, and I'm not gonna lie, that sounds devastating for the mental.
That is, yeah, you had a really good point one. You played it out really well. You get that for yourself, and then you're following it up with 2 goals. We'll say there were 2 goals on your defense there, but the point is still not over yet. The flip comes through, and I cursed it. The point is over, actually. Beautiful flip from Striker Kai, just taking advantage of that positioning there, and yeah, that's rough. The first point being fought for so long, doing so well, and then the set almost over in an instant. Now Dragonslayers 2 getting first pick at these awakenings, and again you have 1-2 punches, you have missile propulsions in here. Could be quite scary.
A lot of super scary pickups, namely for Dragonslayers 2 again. And the missile prop has actually ended up on Drakkar. And 1-2 punch going to Amy. These are some awakenings that we exactly saw on these characters last game. But I think something to look at here is just the team player on Vice. When you're able, with these core control, or these damage teams are not able to kind of keep the core where they want it as much as they would like compared to more traditional team comp. So this team player might just be enough to kind of rocket the core past the Stell Drakkar, who are kind of busy spending their abilities on damage. A missed combo from the Rune Vanish, unable to kind of get the Vice Secretary or the Julie Dash Punch to combo with it, and misses our kill, which is a lot of abilities spent for the side of Polar Coretex, but they are able to get the first barrier and are super duper scary in the net bar. Unfortunately, unable to find the secured point, and is now the side of Dragonslayers that looking so scary. The Fool looking so low in the net, but luckily has the Rune Pillar behind him, is able to kind of keep it up. And a dash punch coming up from Name Chaotic is actually kind of got super scared to keep it up the field, but a great strike from A, able to swat the core back in when Luke strikes directly into him. So a great little start to the side Dragonslayers 2, and maybe we kind of get the ball rolling again. Go back to where we started this game.
Yeah, the game's basically just started, right? First set didn't happen, and we'll see how that's gonna play out, because Striker Kai being hit by that banish and taken out just straight up by Name Chaotic with a nice dash punch there. Power play now for Polar Coretex is what they exactly what they need. They find the barrier again with a nice TP up from the Fool there as well. I just need to find the goal as well, and Luke does not have the abilities to cover that. Clean passing play around Kilius there just secures them a 2-0 lead so far, and they are back in this game completely.
Yeah, I mean, when I said get the ball rolling, we are rolling. We are nice and fast to kind of secure these points super duper quick. There, when Polar Coretex is able to find their kills, they are taking it so far. And a very scary combo coming out from Kilius and Striker Kai, looking to just take Name Chaotic off the map immediately, but unfortunately missed the Quangle in the end. And it is now Name Chaotic with the Twin Drive Julie, and more importantly, a flip. And when you're playing against this on app, it can be so hard to find a spot where you can just survive, but unfortunately I was unable to find the kill, going for the scoring attempt with the dash punch, able to get on the opposite side, and a super scary secondary from the Fool. But a beautiful pass actually from Luke to Striker Kai, able to get the core out of there so fast, and able to find an angle around the Vice teleport, and the Fool is just not able to make it back in time. And hey, if I'm Polar Coretex, we need to win right now. We don't want any of this momentum going back to the side of Dragonslayers 2.
Yeah, we know what happened last time it did, and it's not looking great so far, because again, the barrier is down, so you want to make sure you can get this pressure going. Maybe use that flip on Name Chaotic as well for some kind of value, be that a KO or be that just taking the barrier as damage again. It's being traded back and forth, but no one in real danger of being KO'd just yet. A banish does come out and hits Kilius there, putting them rather low, down to 1 HP now, but still alive, but almost actually getting the score even there. But it wasn't enough, as now the KO gets found by Name Chaotic, and power play now for Polar Coretex to get a barrier. Fool has a flip available as well. Potentially wants to look up to use it there, but has to use it defensively, as the aiming turret just hit so much better. As now the attack is starting to be built again. A bit careful here because no HP available, but again, clean passing play will be what will give the goal to Dragonslayers 2 there.
Yeah, I mean, these points are just looking like super duper swingy right now. All it takes is one kill from either side, and with how easy they are to find and how kind of vulnerable this barrier is, only a 1 barrier map. It just looks so, these points just go so fast, and a great pass up to Striker Kai from Kilius, past the Rune Banish, is able to secure this point, and things were looking so up for Polar Coretex, but now it is Dragonslayers who have taken both of the starting sets, and we might just be seeing Ad Rush picked up for the side of Dragonslayers 2.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it has to be, because otherwise you're giving Ad Rush down to the Julie. I don't think you ever want to be dealing with that. To be fair though, still, Fool is going to be able to pick up a prime time here over Deadeye. So just wanting to get a bit more core control going, to get a little bit more ways to interrupt it, because I feel like that was the difficulty so far for the side of Polar Coretex. They just can't really shut down the passing angles that Dragonslayers 2 are going for. They're having a pretty difficult time dealing with that appropriately. So having a bit more cooldown there is going to help. Getting some more HP onto A as well is going to help as well, but I'm curious if it's going to be enough, because again, like, Adrenaline Rush, even if it's on Striker Kai, can be incredibly strong in the right situation, but so can Julie with a nice setup there to get the KO, and the power play going now for Polar Coretex to get a barrier. Can they get the goal as well? Putting down that pillar, but going away from the play a little bit gives the side of Dragonslayers 2 time to defend, but no, a great TP up right. A Fool will be the person who scores there.
Yeah, great little interaction there near the end with full teleporting again in the primary there. But I think something that I noticed there at that point is that even though Polar Coretex aren't finding like the craziest combos that we thought they would at the beginning of the game, all three of these characters you need to evade against. You do not want to eat a Juliet dash punch into dash, or about ultimate into dash punch. You do not want to eat this beautiful banish coming out from A, and you don't want to be eating any of these Vice abilities. So if they are able to kind of get one person to bail and evade, they can kind of run them down. And there's actually Striker Kai that is 0 energy left. All it takes is one Vice secondary or a Rune banish to find him, and this entire team of Polar Coretex might be able to run him down and immediately take him off the map.
Yeah, we'll see if that's going to happen. No, Name Chaotic also a bit low there. Wants to probably be careful not to have to use that flip defensively, as both goalies use their flip there, and the Fool's one that wins up out on it. As the flip doesn't find the barrier, the punch doesn't either. Really good defense there from Dragonslayers 2, which puts them in a situation where they're up a barrier and can potentially find themselves a point again. And I mean, we've been in a 2-0 scenario before for Polar Coretex, and we know how it went last time. And Striker Kai there, great with the Estelle, just having such an advantage in a character comparison as well against the Vice, just doing everything right there, and gets a goal for Dragonslayers 2 to potentially reverse sweep this set.
When you're spending all these abilities and unable to find these kills, Estelle is just kind of able to give her an inch, she takes a mile. It'll immediately secure these barriers and these points with such scary teleports and of course the long range ultimate. But it is actually Luke who is the one this time to snipe these pass, and this is coming down exactly like last set. Things were looking great for Polar, but then Dragonslayers 2 just locks in and starts taking these points so quickly with all these characters who can just put up so much pressure in front of the net.
Yeah, they're just covering every angle that Fool wants to go for, which makes it so much more difficult for Fool to get these clears out. So even though the KOs, I feel like, have been more commonly found on Polar Coretex's side this time around, it's just about that efficiency up front, just getting these barriers and these KOs going. And again, you have a power play now for Polar Coretex. You want to be getting the point here. You want to not drag this out, because if you do, maybe the same thing just happens again, and the barrier does drop that one thorn coming through there. Again, it's a power play for Polar Coretex. It's a 3v2 situation, but last time it was a negative one. You gotta make sure you find this barrier sometime soon, because Striker Kai is coming back into play soon. In a 3v3 situation, now you're just playing all down. You do get the barrier, and the flip comes out from Name Chaotic with an almost confirmed dash punch there, but again, the strikes are timed so well and just shut that down completely, as the attack from Dragonslayers 2 is now starting to build up again, and almost, of course, sneaking its way past Fool there, but the primary does come out in time. The banish doesn't find anyone, and Striker Kai keeping up this core, almost unable to lose a strike war, it feels like, as now Fool is walking up, uses the power cord, but the clear does not find its way to kill. He has A there to cover it, and Polar Coretex are rewarded with their first set victory this game.
Yeah, on Polar Coretex, I'm wiping the sweat off my head right now, because that's scary. One of the scariest points that we've seen. Just it's so scary with the Estelle in your face in that corner, and the Fool's on Vice. Like, they're not known for defensive abilities, but luckily Rune was able to kind of lock it down with the pillars for long enough to let Vice kind of find her out, and eventually we were able to secure the point with a little bit of offense on the range goalie ourselves. And a lot of actually strong awakenings coming out onto everyone here. Extra special Amy, of course, a lot more damage for Estelle Drakkar, but Hotshot Rune is even more core speed to the side of Polar Coretex. And maybe that's all you need. Maybe you just need to take these little Mickey Mouse red core Rune pillars and let it rocket across the field before anyone can react.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly valid strategy, because keep in mind, Luke is on Amy. Amy doesn't necessarily, like, she has abilities, obviously, to react to certain situations, but she's not always going to be ready for just nuke being sent across the field at, like, Mach 7, you know? So It is possible to be playing for that, and you can also use the pillars like there as a kill confirm, right? Because you do have a lot of damage output, and sometimes finding Julie into a position where she can confirm the KO is a bit more difficult, so just pop down a pillar on top of her, and that's how you can be playing for these power plays. As Name Chaotic gets taken out here though, again the power play from Polar Coretex not really finding what they wanted to find, but the Great Banish will actually stall out enough time to kind of get the defense out there, and a beautiful ultimate from Mice will still keep the point alive. The pillar is still there. And Name Chaotic back onto the field now, trying to get into position here, but the flip has to come out from Fool. And again, a lot of back and forth, a lot of chaos being played around as one barrier does drop now on the side of Polar Coretex. And almost a second barrier there, but still Dragonslayers 2 holding on to theirs.
Now, I mean, there's the we've got Team Player, we've got Hotshot on the Fool and I respectively. And hey, we could start hitting this course so far up the field, but sometimes when it comes back to the vice, Drakar's got Strike, he's got Shotgun, and he's gonna put them together to pull off one of Omega Striker's most classic combos to secure first point of the set for Dragonslayers 2.
Yeah, and again, an important point, because this time around it is Dragonslayers 2 that find themselves that first point and want to continue riding on this momentum. But again, both sides just kind of tussling around, just dealing with all of this red core, which makes it so difficult. The Vice Ultimate coming out there, but the bounce not being fortunate enough. The Molten Bolt intercepts, but again, doesn't really go anywhere as Striker Kai is down to 1 HP. The barrier does drop. Luke kind of on his own now defensively as Name Chaotic finds that KO. Actually, it was A that found the KO there with the rune. Power play for Polar Coretex, and it's starting to look up for them now. They're finding their way of playing this out, kind of thriving in that chaos of the core speed, and they're just trying to get this goal in for themselves now. But again, the power play didn't result in the goal that they wanted, and now Killiest and Striker Kai both back on the field. Flip available for Name Chaotic, uses it here and finds the angle. No KO with it, but arguably even better that they didn't find the KO on Striker Kai, because now he's going to start the next point without evades.
Super scary point for Polar Coretex there, with Name Chaotic almost dying for a very long time at that point. With the flip would have been catastrophic for Polar Coretex, but was able to stay alive, rotate back to get some orbs, and eventually use that flip that they've been saving to secure the point in the end. And a great little play there from Killiest, able to rotate it up the play, back pass up to Luke, and just kind of ignore this rune that we've been going through. But it is okay, 2 kills going down, trading both brawlers. And it is now Luke and I kind of face each other down, both with flips here, stalling time for their respective brawlers to come back. Striker Kai looking for the solo play. He's able to get away from the TV, but it's Striker Kai who has got hit. And with no evade left, you just have to eat these abilities that I was talking about, that you just don't want to be usually taking with these evades. And a strike up and around Luke. Amy glitch hop unable to save that point. And Polar Coretex is back up to 2 points, 1 away from taking this set. And they don't want to. After the first 2 sets, it was so disappointing that they lost. Hey, they want to bring it home and take us to game 3.
Yeah, most definitely, and they're looking good to do so, because again, another flip comes out from A there, gets a barrier down. So now you're just trying to set yourself up to actually finish the job in this set. The dash punch does go wide on Name Chaotic as the attack from Dragonslayers 2 is coming through. But again, that team player, these hotshots, they're just helping so much at getting that core out fast and not allowing the side Dragonslayers 2 to set up as the Banish finds the core, bounces up back to A, the pillar self-pass does work. And the core gets into the hands of Name Chaotic. Their flip coming out from Luke to take the barrier to now give Dragonslayers 2 a chance at getting the skull in. But again, Fool just so well positioned there defensively to carry that. And the primary comes out, the flip comes out. KO for Name Chaotic, and Polar Coretex are now looking to reverse sweep this game.
Yeah, a great little position there. Kind of they are already running topside, assuming that that's where Luke wants to clear. Is able to catch the core with the flip, actually take out the kill on Striker Kai while he was at it. And now we're going to the last draft, and there's some very strong awakenings going to be picked up. Heavy impact, twice his signature awakening, a lot more cooldowns, and more importantly, a lot more damage. We've actually been seeing a lot more kills coming out from the side of Polar Coretex, which might just be all the heavy impact. It might just be enough. More cooldowns, more damage. That also just translates to more damage, more damage. But hey, Aerial's Estelle, another awakening that we saw from last game, might just be able to, yeah, the word is rob some of these points with these blinks. So this last set could go either team's way.
It could go either team's way. I feel like it is slightly Polar Coretex favored now, though, because they're just doing so much better with that core control, and they get the KO there. just absolute nuke coming out. The barrier is being dropped as well, as now A and newcomers are trying to get the goal in, but Luke holds on to the point for now. The punch doesn't find the core. The secondary coming out from Fool there, but again, core being played to the other side. Well defended from the side of Dragonslayers too, but they're not in safe water yet, as Fool's trying to carry the core up again. The glitch pop will send it straight back, and the Cyber Strike will actually take the barrier. Luke so efficient on this Amy, but a KO found again for the side of Polar Coretex, and it is now their time to get themselves set up here and get this core in. But Kiliest and Luke just doing such a good job defensively, making it so difficult. The dash punch again finds a target. Another power play. No, almost self-calling there, but the core does go in the end. Fool with the flip.
Okay, a little bit of a point that could go was going either way there, but the Fool has to pop the flip, and hey, got the team player flip. Just let it rip. Just goes flying all the way to the brawler, past Kalias, unable to defend at all. But I mean, yeah, that point was scary, super duper scary for both sides. Open net, and either point can go either way. But it's now Luke able to keep the ball up the field. Striker Kai is looking to just kind of get it up, but it is Kilias who's looking super duper low, and unfortunately a missed strike from the side of Luke. I mean, it means the first and only barrier goes down. Striker Kai unable to get the barrier himself, but a great ultimate from Kilias, just kind of covering all options for the Fool. And this, I cannot believe that shotgun just killed, but it doesn't matter because Named Chaotic takes the solo play against Luke and is able to put it in top shot without even needing to pop the flip, meaning that Julia gets to keep running around, threatening the dash punch for the last that match point for this game. What?
I was about to say that did Jakar get micro patched or something with that damage, but yeah, apparently he did get micro patched out of the game because he just immediately disappeared at the start of that point as well. Again, barrier taken so efficiently from Polar Coretex, flip in front of goal, but does get caught by Striker Kai there. Polar Coretex are still in an incredible situation as Luke gets taken out again completely. They're just chaining like power play after power play, which makes it so difficult for the side of Dragonslayers to collect themselves and set themselves up, and in the end, Named Chaotic there with the dash punch will put it away. 3-0 victory in this last set for Polar Coretex, and they're forcing a game 3.
I mean, that was such an explosive, like, last 3 points from Polar Coretex. We saw at the start of the game where it was Dragonslayers got to start stealing these points away. Like, you blink and you miss it, but it was actually now, I mean, Polar Coretex have scaled. People just started blowing up near the end. Like, they started eating all these moves, like Vice ult into Julie dash punch, and boom, whoever got hit by that, instantly gone. And even though the damage numbers were much lower for the side of Polar Coretex, as we can see, Juliet 8 kills, and then I and the Fool adding up to 7. You should find so many kills with these not just random ability combos coming out, especially near the end of the game. While just the raw damage from Dragonslayers 2 was not able to quite keep up in the damage department, but not in the KO department.
Yeah, I mean, it's more difficult to actually secure the KOs if you're in those characters, right? Because you're playing with range, you can't really force someone close to the edge, and again, especially because you're going up against something like a Rune that can banish you close to the edge, or a Juliet that can just dash punch you as well. It's so much more risky to try to get these KOs, and a lot more difficult for the side of Dragonslayers to actually find the confirm. And I feel like if you look at the stats as well, Named Chaotic had a very clear game plan. 8 KOs, less than 100 redirects. This Julie was dash punching, and she was dash punching well.
I mean, I believe it was like, I checked near the end of the game, like 170 power, I think it was, with the pummelers, of course, and a couple of other damage awakening sprinkled in there. And you're on out. It can just be so hard when you have to eat these dash punches, especially, I think more importantly, when Named Chaotic was able to find these ult dash punches. I think was doing just enough damage to instantly take someone off the map near the end of the game. Forced to evade Rune Banish, forced to evade Vice Secondary, and then Juliet just walks at you, does her little fiery flurry, clicks secondary, clicks primary, and oh, you're gone. Wow, that was really talented. Yeah, great little adaptation there coming out from Polar Coretex. I'm glad that we decided to go play for a KO, not just like damage, but anything that results in a kill at the end of the day, I think is super strong. And moving away from the Dubu was, I think, a great adjustment that the Fool was able to make going to this game.
Yeah, it just allowed him to be so much more active up front, right? And I feel like that's something that we want to be looking for as well in this deciding game now. What I'm also curious to see is if Dragonslayers 2 are still just going to run it back, right? Because they played the same team comp twice now. So gonna be curious to and you had very varying results. You had a first game victory, and you now have just barely lost out on this one. So curious to see if they're just gonna say, you know what, that was a little bit of a fluke. Maybe the execution, the draft luck wasn't really on our side. We're just gonna run it back because that's what we know we can play, and we know we play well. Or if they even maybe have some adjustments on their end, maybe prioritizing a Vice over an Amy, or maybe taking away a potential Julie pick or something like that, as we're going into gates and you have a specialized training start. Luna's been banned before. I would imagine she's just going to get banned again on a start like this.
Yeah, and Luna is also just kind of, I think, character that kind of does really well on gates. Is able to kind of play both sides of the portal pretty well. Like, if Luna sees the ball going to a portal, yeah, I'm just gonna send a rocket that way, send it right back through. No big deal. But I mean, personally, I'm looking at the brawlers on this side. I'm looking at this this one guy, this X character. I think he's all right on gates. I think the spec is an okay awakening for him, and yeah, he could take over this game really easily if either team decides to play him. I don't know if Name Chaotic has the X gene or even wants to pull it out at all. Not X, a kind of unpopular character. He's a little boring, but that's okay. But I know Kilius, if you're watching this, you got me, man. I know you got it in you to pull out the X's to win this game.
I mean, X could be quite the threat here. The question is again, where do you pick him in the draft? Because I'm not sure if it's going to be like a huge prio, right? It might be a 2-3 on red side or in the 4-5. I feel like the first pick is likely going to either a Vice or a Luna, just because spec is funny, and especially considering the fact your other awakening is Orb Replicator, which is, I mean, it's really not that valuable, I feel like. So it's so much more valuable that you are picking characters for yourselves, like the X, like the Luna, like the Vice, like a Kai potentially as well, that just makes so much use off of the specialized training and can play around it, because that's going to be, I feel like, pretty strong. Because, again, if you can make use of spec that well, you're a little bit better with orbs. That's nice. You get energy economy. That's also nice, but I feel like spec just outvalues it a little bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't remember the number anymore, but like, I don't know, 40% harder hitting ultimate. Pretty big number. That's like 2-1-2 punches. But hey, also could be that, hey, maybe they just want to play comfort. Maybe Dragonslayers want to pick Amy, Drakkar, Estelle for the third game in a row. It worked with game 1, and even game 2, we put up quite the fight. So hey, it's not completely broken. So maybe we can't tell if it needs to be fixed yet, but we can find out this game. Maybe they're round 3, just start shooting people. But hey, I'm down for whatever here. But I'm just really hoping to see a bit more brawler variety. I think stuffing characters on this map, I think Asher X are super insane in that corner. And Spec Asher too. I mean, I hate playing against it, especially like she picks like a Monu. That it is impossible to play into that. And I think if we could start setting up the sectors, especially with the side of Polar Coretex, it could be looking super scary, especially when Luke has been playing all these ranged characters that Asher can kind of just shut down if she wants to be picked here.
Yeah. It is curious to see where the priorities are going to lie. I feel like, again, like if you're looking for stuff as well, Dragonslayers 2 have been playing X. You can play X for a bit of stuff as well. It's just not as convincing and as solid, I feel like, as an X or an Asher up front, as you said as well. I'm curious to see if we maybe even see, again, I feel like a Kai pickup might not be that bad. I don't dislike it on Gates of Obscura. Movement speed is so important on a map like this, and Kai just zooms around. Specialized training is a great pickup for him because he is going to be a threat around edges as well, and obviously one team has a player literally called Striker Kai, so who knows, maybe that's going to come through as we're waiting on the first bans to actually be executed here. Is there any sleeper pick, I feel like, that could be like surprisingly efficient here? I feel like if Polar Coretex wanted to, they could play something funny, like pull out the Rune again and put an X or an Asher up front, have Rune just lock the core into one of these pockets with pillars and everything, and just let the shove brawler do all of the work. I feel like that could also be surprisingly effective here.
Yeah, I mean, as for sleepers, I'm talking about all these shoving brawlers, but I would kind of like to see Dame Chaotic play Kazan. I think that's his best pick, and Spec Kazan is nothing to scoff at. If you're forced, like, the little pop from the secondary does a decent chunk of damage, but if you get hit by, like, the landing secondary ultimate, that does a lot of damage. And if a little bit more support, Kazan can kind of just run people over. Like, even if he's not shoving, he just does so much damage, and it is super hard to play into him, especially if you're not choosing to play a character like Dubu that can kind of ignore what he's putting down. And like I said, I think it's Nathan Kalek's best pick. I would love to see him on it. Well, I wouldn't love to see Kazan, but it is nice seeing people play well. So, hey, if he wants to strike, hook, outplayed, hey, not let it rip.
The feelings that Kazan does just gives me whenever I'm playing into him as a goalie player is undescribable, because it's just such a great thing, you know, where you're winning the interaction against him and he says, you know what, I don't care, I'm just gonna hook it anyways and just win again. Oh, doesn't it feels exciting to be dealing with? But we'll see if it's gonna come through. I feel, again, it's pretty open. I feel like you can kind of lean into all aspects here. And I mean, obviously you're going into a game 3, right? Comfort is going to be a topic, and if that Kazan's a comfort pick, you should probably lean into that. I mean, again, we've seen how Dragonslayers 2 have been playing. They have just been playing comfort more than anything. So I feel like they might just be, but they could be running it back, although I feel like it would be a bit mismatched with the hand that they're dealt this time around. Also curious to see if there is going to be like a shover brawler, if someone maybe pivots into a lockdown goalie just to counteract it properly, right? Go for something like a Dubu, go for something like an Atlas even, who knows? But we'll see how they're going to approach it, as the rune actually gets banned out by Dragonslayers 2. They did not like having to play into that last time around. They're just saying we're not dealing with it this time around, and the Luna ban I feel like is pretty expected on a start like this, as Dragonslayers 2 are pondering their first pick now.
2 characters that you kind of don't want to deal with spec. Yeah, I get it. And Dragonslayers 2 wants to pick up the Amy. I mean, I'm down. That character is so strong, and that can be flexed either into the midfield or goalie, or always a super duper good first pick. And there's the Vice Juliet coming out from Polar Coretex again. Maybe we could be looking to see more of these like dash punch with any of Vice's abilities. They all do so much knockback, so they all work. Look at these combos again. But this time, no rune, which means on defense, not going to have a little pillar in the back, just kind of support us to wait out a couple of strikes to let our abilities come back online. And that means no banish either, which means these little combo codes are so much harder to pick out. But we have the X pickup from Dragonslayers 2. Praise be. Thank you, Kiliast. I mean, we have Spec X against these sad little ranged goalies. We could just start hitting them, man. We're in the corner. We're going to click primary, do a little spin. It hits everybody. And when you have an Amy in the back, just like giving a little more damage, of course, a Kai for the kill confirm, you don't even need to worry about kill confirms. Because either your ultimate is just going to smack them off the map, or Kai's going to run up and click barrage. But, hey, even more knockback characters for Polar Coretex, and even X is pretty easy to kill. So this could go either way. Even if I think X it might be just take over this game, especially if we can pick a bulk up or something. Oh, then it's totally over. But hey, nothing that Shooty just can't deal with.
Yeah, and the Drakkar being picked up there in the end for Polar Coretex. I'm going to be curious to see how well he's going to be doing. I feel like Drakkar, I would assume this is going to go into the midfield there. I feel like has a bit of a tough time on a map like Gates, but I really like Dragonslayers 2's comp. Like, you just have Amy net, obviously Luke, just such a good Amy player. You have Striker Kai on Kai, and you have an X up front on these starting awakenings. I feel like Kai's just gonna run across the entire field, be ever present. Yes, damage is going to be a concern. You're still a Kai, but again, you can be playing, if you get 1 or 2 good awakenings in draft, either giving you way too much movement speed to even be hit. Because that is sadly a realistic situation. I feel like that Kai just picks up so much speed that it almost gets impossible to hit him at times. Or just survivability as well, like peak or bulk up, or just anything that gives you a little bit of more tankiness to be dealing with all the damage that's being put out. I feel like Striker Kai just has so many tools to be effective at controlling the core and delivering that core all the way up to Kiliast. And then Kiliast on the X, I mean, just punch it in. You're going into a Vice most likely. I feel like if Vice wants to defend that, she's putting herself at risk at just being taken out as well.
For sure. We're going into this game. I think we'd like to keep one thing to keep an eye on here is first Vicious Vampirace on X. That is going to be pulling a lot of his weight, just kind of making sure that he doesn't get run down by this Drakkar Vice that just want to start clicking abilities on him and making sure that he can't get the value he can't, and just kind of holding the corner. But also, I'm just looking for dash punches again. A lot of teams get really kind of play super close to the wall, especially near the portals, where this Juliet and also this Spec Kai might be able to just kind of find a bunch of cheese kills near the end here. So I'm excited to see where this game is going to go from there.
Yeah, and you can see that barrier pressure as well. That Dragonslayers 2 has a barrage. It's such an effective ability to take a barrier, to just force it, and it's going into a Vice. Vice can't really deal well with multiple hits like that. She's really good at disrupting the core because before it gets to someone, but if it's already in front of the enemy and it has multiple hits behind it, it's going to get a lot more difficult. But both sides here on an open net, both goalies on eject, which means they can involve themselves up front a lot easier than others could. So we'll see who's going to be able to set themselves up here. So the flip from A is going to be good. Sets it up the name Chaotic and a nice combo with all abilities and a flip use there. Luke has absolutely no chance defending that core anymore. And Polar Coretex are going in with the first goal in this game 3.
Great little play there where they actually used the dash punch early, not to put the point, but just kind of win the strike war against Luke. And then using the ult actually gave him enough energy to get flip up for the last little interaction there. And when you're flipping in the face of a ranged goalie like that, yeah, it's probably going in. But great little corner play there coming out from Dragonslayers, looking to keep the ball in this corner where X, of course, thrives. Achilles holding the strikes, and a great strike barrage coming out from Striker Kai, actually winning all the strike wars near the end there. But is now a great down clear from Luke, able to get it past Dame Cow before he's able to get into position to cover that. But the range goalie is able to actually evade past the Julie dash. And Zoro is just too far out of the net, and it slowly rolls in, evening up the point score for both Dragonslayers and Coretex.
Yeah, the funny situation where the eject doesn't go back in time. We've all been there, but again, evens out the point, and I feel like both teams they have their game plan here, and they're playing for it, right? They're executing well on it, and they're getting their barriers for it. As I feel like going into this point, you do have quite a considerable energy advantage actually on the side of Polar Coretex, but what you don't have is barriers left anymore, as again, that barrage efficiency, it's just showing itself. Even though Ice Ultimate can't do anything against all of these hits coming out, the barrier down, now second one down actually on the side of Dragonslayers 2, his name Chaotic is close to flip himself, and the Cyber Swipe almost just puts it in from the angle through the portal, but the Fool is there in time to use the flip. The ability does go wide, as Striker Kai is trying to get this goal in, but a beautiful Cyber Swipe sends it up to Kilius, and Kilius finds the gap in between A and Fool to find the second goal for themselves in this set.
There's some beautiful passes coming out from everybody on Dragonslayers to Kilius, Striker Kai, then back to Luke, then back to Kilius again. Able to get it around both the Vice and more importantly, Juliet with Flip, who's looking to threaten, kind of just taking this point immediately, but taking this point immediately is what happened with Polar Coretex just running over that point, getting two barriers so quickly, and then popping the flip to just kind of secure it, all of that. And now neither team really has any evades left, which means there could be a lot of damage come up, or maybe just like one random Juliet dash punch that you're unable to evade is what we're looking for to secure this first set.
And we'll see if it does come into play, as Supernova does come out there from Vice to actually get the core away. The attack now being built again, and Luke almost finding a barrier with that. The secondary from Fool hitting Luke there, as one barrier does go down. This barrage did not get the second one though, and now Name Chaotic and A are on the offense, but the turret cleanly gets that out with support of Striker Kai there. And Dragonslayers 2 just in a really good position for themselves here. They do lose one barrier, but the HP bars are getting rather low, and a clean clear from Striker Kai and Luke together there will get the core across. A lot of portals being played around here, which again just makes it a bit more chaotic, a bit more difficult to be dealing with. And I think both teams do have their tools to do that efficiently, as the ultimate again comes out from the Fool. Barrier still not dropping, surely gonna drop here with the flip, and they do find it, as now Polar Coretex are looking at closing off this set and get themselves the first set win in this game 3, but the attack has not slowed down from Dragonslayers 2. They do get the barrier now. Luke does have a flip, so can maybe look to Cyber Swipe it up front and flip it themselves, but does not do that as the core goes into the portal. Flip does go wide, and the attack still very much alive. It's going to be a bit difficult to play out now properly, because again, you're on two open nets completely. And Amy and Vice, they have a lot of movement to be defending and a lot of range to be defending it, but it's going to be quite a delicate mix between when are we using it for damage and when are we using it to defend. Again, flip coming out, but again, no goal found yet. At this point, it's dragging itself quite long.
Some unfortunately barely missed goals here, but a great dribble into the middle from Nico. Immediately, as I say, is able to secure that with Achilles unable to spend the flip that he's been building up this entire time. And is now Polar Coretex starting this game off with a 1-set lead. And there's a lot of new scary awakenings for Vice here. We can see the heavy impact again. But then, I mean, the Deadeye might just fall to Amy. And I think everyone... Hey, Twin Drive is also a great pickup. Just more offensive, like, uptime. But there's a lot of scary awakenings for both sides here. And I think everyone's really picking up something that they're pretty happy with.
Yeah, and just more importantly, just like the value just across the field, right? The Twin Drive I do very much respect because you want that uptime, right? You want to help with forcing these goals so much more efficiently. So Fool is going to be able to do that so much better. And a lot of movement speed as well for A with the Fighter Flight. As the side of Dragonslayers 2 are just picking up damage. They're picking up Heavy, they're picking up Deadeye, they're picking up Might as well. Getting a little bit of size onto Kilius, onto this X is going to be so efficient as well. We'll see how it's going to pan out now. I feel like, generally speaking, pretty even, but Achilles just doing X things there, taking both barriers with that X Maximus is so well executed, as now the side of Polar Coretex are going to try to have to defend this point, but again, the pressure is just really strong. The punch goes the wrong way, unfortunately, there, but the point is still very much alive. Now Luke and Striker Kai both playing on that midfield line, both trying to set some kind of engagement up to get this core in, but the attack does find the barrier on the side of Dragonslayers 2. Fool close to a flip here, can potentially look to use that Twin Drive and get himself involved again, does use it once there, but Luke jumps in front, and again, it's just a lot of like fighting for core control, fighting to set yourself up. Very difficult to really get yourself in a position where you really want to be, but all it takes is one mistake from one player and you're gonna find the goal in this set.
I mean, but however, we see here that Polar Coretex was actually able to kind of secure control over both portals here, playing towards the side with the portal behind them. We're just go straight back to the Fool, and he's able to kind of set it right back into the offense where the demon was not able to find a clear past it. That it was able to secure that point nice and early there, and immediately goes in for a big Vice ultimate coming out the Fool, and the damage is looking pretty scary, but it's actually kind of targeted towards Name Chaotic here, super low with the flip out, not something that you want to lose, and all it takes is extra saying, hey, I'm gonna go run that guy down, and that could kind of spell the end for Name Chaotic's life here. But a great first barrier take coming out, and actually looking to kill Luke. Luke's forced to run away, kind of just play offense on his own to look to get these orbs. And the X-Pick right now is just kind of running around a bit too much, not be able to find any great corner interactions, or it's just going around him too much on the portals map.
So difficult to get involved if the core doesn't get fed to you that consistently. And again, even if you are up front, you just have to out-strike war as well if you don't have that X Maximus, which is going to be difficult because Fool has been playing really well on this Vice today. And the barrier is still very much alive. Flip on Fool, the dash punch coming from Chaotic, and Luke not able to react to that accordingly, as the goal does find its way into the hands of Polar Coretex here. They are playing so good right now, and I feel like they're just having the game in control so well.
Yeah, you kind of get this core up and keep it away from the X's hands, kind of denying any of the, like, I mean, with the best points that we saw this game was Achilles able to get in the range where he just like strike, yeah, Fraz in the bag. But they're doing such a great job at denying this possession and keeping it away from this X in the corner, even getting around him once again. It's just so scary to play against. Able to get the ult out, the Fool opting to pop the ult, and there's now Kilius who's looking super low. And when you're staggered against the Juliet, there's not much you can do when she just ults you, and you can't even evade past it anymore. They're looking to get the passing play started. Polar Coretex looking to get it around the field, shotgunning past Luke, but is unable to get it up. And there's actually Luke manages to get the core past the Fool and Striker with a great barrage to get it up. But the offense for Polar is, again, just like this portal is just so scary, and it's able to get the Striker so fast, pops the flip, but is unable to get it past Luke. And I mean, we just keep going through these portals for fun right now.
Ooh. we're sending core up front, we're hitting a portal, and we're just assuming, or we're just hoping it does find its way into the proper hands there. But again, both teams just playing around it properly, making sure that no connecting play is going to be found there, as a KO now gets found finally for the side of Dragonslayers 2. The glitch pop just barely saving that one there. 3v2 situation now, setting yourself up to get it out. The ultimate coming out from Vice, Bellringer not quite being able to get past A there, as the Molten Bolt just sends across field, and now Named Chaotic is back on the field as well. The Barrage almost getting it in, but the Fool is going to be able to get there in time with their strike here. Red Core just sending it directly over to Luke again, which puts this game into such a difficult situation, because if you're misstepping a little bit, if the core can go fly towards your half that fast, you can get punished fast, very, very fast. But great passing play in the end from the side of Dragonslayers 2 is what takes this goal, and this is what sets them up for a potential reverse sweep within this set.
Yeah. And there's respect that Giga actually coming out. Not many of the Giga kills we've seen coming out here. Many of them have been barely missing. Hey, but there it is. X primary into ultimate just does so much damage, and immediately takes the Fool off the map. And it's not his eye as well, who is so close to being staggered. And when you're the side of Polar Coretex, I mean, you want those to be, but we're able to get the flip out from Luke anyways, but it's still not enough. Going down to the X primary, it's moving up the field with these strikes, but is actually Named Chaotic who's kind of running this point right now. You're so scary against this Juliet with flip, with the dash punch. It's so hard to kind of walk past her. And it was able to use that presence to kind of get the core off the field. It looks for the secondary flip, is able to get the first barrier, and the X secondary barely missing, which means it barely missed point for the side of or Dragonslayers 2. And the Fool is looking to move up the field and just kind of get this Vice twin drive with flip presence going.
Yeah, but Dragonslayers 2 still trying to, like, holding on to the point well, and they're on the attack continuously, and a nice pass there will actually be enough. The Barrage send it after as well to make sure, even if A does have a shotgun interrupt with that, the core is going to go in, and we're now at a 0.5. Dragonslayers 2 are trying to put themselves in, even it out in sets. The kickoff, though, does go in favor of the side of Polar Coretex. The Vice Ultimate coming out, both barriers down now, as they are trying to just convert this. The dash punch does not connect with the core. The ultimate coming out, though, and the strike not enough to defend against that. Named Chaotic so good on that Juliet there to actually confirm it and give the side of Polar Coretex a 2-set lead in this game 3, and they get rewarded with another Vice first pick. What will they get? You do have Stinger here. That could be a bit scary. Explosive Entrance also not to be underestimated.
I will say, something to note here is actually that Kiliast and Striker Kai are actually picks 2 and 3 this point, which means that being able to take 2 Awakenings at once is super duper scary. Peak performance going over to the Kai, and most notably the Stinger on X, meaning that he can, if he has enough time, he will be able to kill basically anybody, just kind of hitting them with a couple primaries until the health just gets burned down. But of course, explosive on Vice, nothing to laugh at. And with Twin Drive, the Fool might start finding some insane ultimates just kind of on the other side of the map.
Yeah, we'll have to see again. The involvement of Fool has been so good in all of these sets as well, and you can again see it 2 barriers down immediately again as the core finds its way into Striker Kai's hands. I do feel like Striker Kai being able to pick up a peak performance here also quite valuable, because it's going to help you with staying alive, and again it gets you that movement speed. Kai is such a demon when you do get all of the movement speed you want as the shotgun there. Not quite able to get it through the defense from the side of Dragonslayers 2. Still very much alive. Kiliast now in a 1v1 situation at the bottom, but well defended by the Fool, and that Stinger is starting to proc. Fool's HP bar is going, and I feel like it's going to be a question of time until Kilias just pulls the plug and just ults on top of him to take him out completely.
But on top of that, hey, it could be either both Kilias or even Striker Kai with the Giga with all these little damage buffs right now. It could be either of them just take someone off the map at a moment's notice. And the Deadeye Giga almost could be enough to just immediately secure that point, and is unable to secure with the X Maximus. And some interesting portal plays coming out from the side of I, but is Kilias who's unable to quite find the point secured. And it is now I who's, despite being staggered, able to move up the field, but a pass from Luke with the flip to the Fool was not enough, but it eventually goes in with the fudgy angle from the other side of the map. Vice just not fast enough to get to cover that angle in time.
Yeah, that core speed is so devilish if you are playing something like Vice and Amy. And immediately off kick off one barrier down, Aim Chaotic down to stagger as well. The damage is really starting to come through from the side of Dragonslayers too. And we saw that in game one, how well they're executing when they do have damage to be working with. The flip is forced out of the Fool, but the barrier does drop here. Killiest has a flip soon as well. Doesn't even need it. That Bell Ringer will be enough. The Fool's ultimate not coming out in time. And Dragonslayers too are coming back with a statement in a strong attempt to take this third set.
I mean, the Stinger is just getting so much value right now. Whenever X can find these like 2 or 3 man hits with his primary, that is just so much damage being kind of chopped off from the side of Polar Coretex. But I don't think they care. They just kind of they get their little interactions. They find a strong Vice secondary in the corner. Juliet dash punch, shotgun behind it. 1, 2, 3. That's the both barriers and the point going down so fast. But what's good to see here though is that they burned a lot of flips to make that happen. So it is now Killius and Striker Kai with the flips coming up and looking to pop it and finds the secondary with the core flip, but is unable to really secure it in the end. It is immediately the Polar Coretex who is able to take the point back, actually able to find a barrier lead. But I mean, I jinxed it again, and now we're even in the open net. But these portals looking super scary over the side of Polar Coretex.
Yeah, we'll have to see. The attack still hasn't slowed down. They find a KO and to find a goal with it as well to get the secure there. I feel like a lot of damage being tossed back and forth, and again, both teams had so many opportunities to find the actual important KO, and in the end, a beautiful glitch pop coming from all the way back from midfield by Luke is what seals the deal and gives them this set victory. They do have an extra special pickup here for Luke, which is going to be incredible, that Amy turret being so difficult to deal with. But you are now looking at bulk ups, you're looking at team player as well, potentially for the Vice. The hotshot also a really solid pickup for Fool to make sure that core goes back to the other side as fast as possible and gets a lot of pressure going. But bulk up on X, yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, I think I brought this up earlier. Bulk up X, he's getting like 30 power from that, and also, you know, a chill 300 health. It is so hard to kill him now. He's got bulk up, he's got vamp races. One might even say that Killius might just become unkillable this game. Just kind of being able to eat all this damage and dish it back out. Because when you've got bulk up, you got more health, right? But now you're doing more damage, which means your vamp races are healing more health. And yeah, I've decided that I'm not expecting to see Killius die for the rest of this game.
Especially if you look at how it's been playing out so far, I feel like the entirety of Dragonslayers 2 are just having a tough time taking damage. Because again, you have the bulk up on X, you have a peak performance on Striker Kai as well. And if you're starting to damage jump onto Luke, you're probably way too deep into the field anyways. So it's turning into quite a control-heavy game now for the side of Polar Coretex, because finding these KOs, barring any kind of one-shot dash punch or anything like that, it's going to be very difficult, as a nice KO combo there comes out from Dragonslayers 2, and now surely they can set themselves up to take this goal, and they will. The X Maximus just punches it directly through the Fool there. Nothing he can do.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that Dragonslayers 2 have scaled so hard this game. So much health. Health is the #1 deny when you're trying to kill people, because it just makes your life so much harder. I mean, to spend one more ability to take someone off the map is just such a big difference compared to something that you would miss normally. But it is actually Luke who's getting run down, is forced to pop the flip as the Vice ult comes back on top of the eject. And like you said, Luke is the only one that you might be able to damage on, but it does require a lot of commitment from the entire team of Polar Coretex. But if they can make it happen, they could actually just take down Luke here. But it's Striker Kai trying to move it up the field with the turret, with the Killius, and was forced to pop a flip, moving it with a lot of portal movement happening right now. And it ends up back the team's trading barriers. Link just kind of find a second barrier here. It's going through portals. Gonna be honest, I don't think anyone knows where it's going right now. But does manage to make it back to Namechaos with the flip dash punch, able to get the first barrier, not secure the point. And Striker just looking super low here. Not super low, but no evade means that you have to eat this Visal. But maybe it doesn't matter. We can just strike barrage to scare Achilles. I'm trying to cover the portal side. But unfortunately, times the primary a bit too early and is able to be struck past him by evening up the set 1-1.
An important goal to be finding here, because again, I feel like Dragonslayers 2, they were finding their momentum, they were finding their ways back into it, and if you are the side of Polar Coretex, you don't want to allow this to go into a set 5. Again, the pressure's so strong from Dragonslayers 2, but immediately answered here. Chaotic down to a stagger, but is not taken out just yet. The barrage will come out, but doesn't confirm it. Just one shot was not enough, but goes through the portal and does get KO'd there in the end. Flip going out from Kilius, confirming that barrier now. Open goal, almost finding that score as well, but Fool with the flip there, so crucial to actually get that timed right, and does do that. Because again, the attack is not slowed down in any way, shape, or form, though. The dash punch from Chaotic not finding the KO on Kilius. Okay, I feel like that's the only way you can find a KO on that guy, is just by taking him off the edge. The Juliet ultimate will be enough to stop that core and also take the barrier, but now Chaotic down to stagger, barely hanging on for dear life here. Fool trying to get involved again with that twin drive, and does find a beautiful strike through Striker Kai and Luke there. This puts Polar Coretex 1 goal away from taking this series.
A great little 1-2 pass from I in the Fool there, using the Vice to kind of getting maximum mileage out of this Vice teleport. Just so much pressure, just being able, in the big hitbox forcing people away, and then a little spot where you can get a strike where you need. But there's the damage coming out from Dragonslayers 2, and it will take them kind of off the field. But it is actually Zora who's looking so scary in the stag with the TP, with the ultimate, but is unable to get a good position for the flip. And we are going back to the offense for Dragonslayers 2, but the portals are just getting so much value right now by a random primary kill coming out from Kilius, is able to kind of they set Namecock all the way up again. Now they have to, that Polar Coretex have to play in the reverse power play again. Kilius trying so hard to kind of keep this damage up. Namecock looking for a shot, trying to secure this point while down a man, but I is back online and is looking to just kind of get it up to his Juliet for a great dash punch, and a barely misses, but is able to find a great strike after the secondary. No punch needed. It just puts the core in the net, and the Polar Coretex is able to make it to winners, I believe, yeah, winners finals in North American Strikers League Academy playoffs.
Yeah, that does lock them a top 3 position, and they played it so well towards the end. Dragonslayers 2 started finding ways back into the game, but in the end, that control that they were able to do with that Drakkar, with the Julie, with the Vice was enough, and they do find this series victory. And again, damage just being kind of ever present. I feel like this time around it was a lot more shared. KOs actually not very much, not a lot found by the side of Polar Coretex. That probably one dash punch on Chaotic there, but they didn't need it, right? Because they were just able to confirm these goals with that Juliet, with these dash punches. 7-0 on goals there for Chaotic, just making sure that whenever the core went up front, you had the opportunity to score it. And again, great showing for both teams, but this time around, Polar Coretex was the team that ends up winning.
Yeah, for sure. I will say the Vice from the Fool was looking so dominant that game. I mean, look at that, 40k damage. It was kind of force people out of the way. They can't really play when they're staggered. And even though they were not able to find any kills, the TP value, like I said, force people out of the way, it just means you can find these great passing plays between your TP and your teammates. And I think that was the big game changer. And if you want to look at the redirects, 254 on the Fool compared to everyone else in the game. Striker barely cracking the 200. And I want to say that Zoro was the carry of that game.
Yeah, most definitely. That Vice just was so active up front and so involved all the time in every single goal. He was involved in one way or another. And that's something that you need to watch out for, right? If you are playing into a Vice, she does have that secondary that can just immediately TP up front and just be involved. And in both of these game wins that went into Polar side, they did end up playing this Vice, and something to consider going into the rest of playoffs when you are going up against Polar Coretex. But for Polar Coretex, it's now a little bit of a break, as they've made themselves secured themselves a position in the next week. Dragonslayers 2 going down to the losers bracket, but they have been playing so well. I'm not necessarily worried that they need to be worried about being taken out down there. We'll see how that's going to be going, though. Drop, do you have any last words before we're going to send it into a short little break to get everything ready for our next series?
Nope, I think I'm ready to go. I mean, you know, better games than I expected out of NASA today. So, hey, I'm down for that. But I'll be seeing you all for the next game. I believe all oncoming traffic versus Cyber Swipe. So I'll see you all there.